by Suning. That Thresh obviously has to be taken off. I feel like we don't even need to talk about it anymore. The Camille also banned away by BLG.
So Gragas is sort of the interesting pick here. It's only been played on BiuBiu so far out of the entire team, and it's one of his safe top lane picks. So what Suning are setting up here is they know the counter pick from BLG usually goes to Zeka, and they're trying to play through Bin's lane here, just making sure that they don't have the Gragas. Gragas actually has very, very few bad matchups. It's incredibly difficult to punish the Gragas. On the flip side, it's a lot easier to punish a Gnar blind. So Suning already setting up this draft for a potential Bin to go off. And I really want to wait and see his Jax. Bin is the Jax master, as you remember from Worlds. He even won out the Renekton lane, which was pretty insane to see. So I want to see that Jax come out.
Hey, I'm crossing my fingers here. I'd love to see a Jax be able to make it through. But we do get tried and true here. Hecarim was that first pick for Suning. Kaisa and Alistar, the deadly duo, if you will, in the bot lane that has been such a mainstay in the LPL, will be going to BLG.
If you were wondering if Aiming was going to go play a hyper carry, I think we have our answer already. Nah, he's just going to play for skirmish. They're going to go for their tried and true strategy. It's always really difficult to see where SofM might be going. I'm sorry, I just got confused by the Zac, because that was actually one of SofM's big champions, but of course they have the Hecarim already. My bad. I just was longing for it in my heart. And Suning, you know, pretty standard. They are going to go for the Jinx regardless. We actually have seen Rell and Jinx be a pretty decent combo, because the Magnet Storm does allow you to group everyone up for that AoE on Fishbones. So that's a decent answer here. While BLG, I don't think you can actually pick Yone without seeing the mid laner. It will just be a more traditional skirmish-oriented Udyr coming out. And, you know, we've talked about this before, but you can typically see how a team mentality is at, whether they answer the Hecarim with the Udyr or with the Lilia. With Udyr, it's a little bit skirmishing focus. It's a more early game focus. With Lilia, you're really looking at post 6 and more team fight attention.
Yeah, and especially that early game is going to mean so much in this matchup in particular. I do really like that we get to see Huanfeng's Jinx again. I mentioned it a little earlier. It's going to be coming into the first game. On getting the Rell, though, his most played champion, you're definitely getting a ton of comfort right now for Suning, and that does worry me to some extent for BLG. I do still think you have some very strong pieces for BLG, but when you're giving Suning, who has shown serious potential on these picks, on this macro play that they are able to whip out with those picks, it makes me wonder what we're going to see for these solo lanes for BLG and what can really turn the tide in their favor in this draft in particular, as we are getting that second phase of bans. Clement, we see the Silence be banned away by Suning. Orianna is the response by BLG.
The counter pick here from Zeka has to be massive here. He essentially has to hold out the early game. With these 3 picks already, BLG, I don't think they can contest in late game team fights. I feel like Suning have a much better front line. They have much more engaged potential. They can take front to backs easier here. So BLG most likely will just throw out a random top laner. Gnar is left open very purposefully by Suning, I feel, right now. And BLG's pick for Zeka is, you know, we have seen some weird picks from him. He has gone for the Echo in the past, or something even like the Yone to counter it out, but a lot is riding on him. I feel like he has to be the early game engine to allow them to play early picks. And I'm a little surprised by this Azir. This Azir takes them into a completely different direction, and it's not exactly a comfortable one.
Not necessarily, especially. I will say, though, how do you get comfort when you have 4 bans levied against you on the other side? I feel so bad for Zeka. He's just getting completely focused out, but does get this tried and true Azir. Maybe he'll be able to make it work, help his team out a little bit more. It does give you that later game scaling that you're kind of talking about they didn't have, so maybe that's the idea. But I feel like you're right. Like, you should index more into that early game skirmishing. If you want to win that way, if you're setting yourself up to win that way, you need to put everything towards that. And the Kassadin is actually coming out for Suning here.
We are gonna get the Angels special. Whenever he sees this Azir, he's gonna pop out the Kassadin. Really strong builds on him. Before, we have seen the Everfrost just make Kassadin a lot stronger, extra HP. You can follow up on the on the slows, easier, and just get a lot of damage on your E's right now with the Everfrost addition to limiting mobility. So I think Suning had this very well planned out. They understood that hey, if Zeka's going to go for just a control mage, we have all the cards in hand. And the reason I didn't really like the Azir is because Azir pretty much locks you into team fighting, but you're trying to team fight with Udyr and Kaisa against the likes of Hecarim and Jinx. So if you want to build that way, you can, but your composition is just going to end up inferior anyway. I expected them to try and pull out something a little bit more radical and try to play the early game out, but BLG right now with this draft, they're saying we're going to try and play top lane and bot lane at the same time, and that's
at the same time.
That's just not how you want to draft, honestly. It's you would much rather have a strong mid lane and one out of the two strong side lanes, rather than having two strong side lanes that both need attention.
I will say, you know, even if it's maybe playing on two separate sides of the map, I do like the Jayce, right? You do have the BiuBiu special, at least we're talking about specials, his most played champion of this split so far, and going against Ben on the Gnar, who was able to freely get that one as there was let through. But Jayce can have so much pressure in the lane, can be able to turn that snowball over. It's just that, hey, like, who do you focus for BLG, right? I feel like a lot of it's going to come down to that early pathing and where Meteor is really looking towards.
I will say BLG's composition in the early game, they actually have triple prio lanes. Kaisa against Jinx does have a bit more power there, and you have Azir that can poke out Kassadin early, and top lane BiuBiu should have an advantage as well. So it's very feasible for BLG to actually shut down SofM in the early game, counter it jungle, and just make sure that Suning never gets the late game. If this game goes to late, I don't even care about the Azir. Suning is still going to win this one hands down. It's going to be a very easy stop for them. So BLG, they have to go all in early, and they have to get this lane priority into the enemy jungle.
And I know I may be crazy, but Hail Blades on Azir, I like it. We'll see what it works out for as we do hit the rift here. Can Suning climb that ladder a little bit more? Can they stop BLG from continuing the dream of getting into the playoffs? We'll find out soon as we get to see Suning taking on Bilibili.
And just an early level 1, you do expect some sort of wards to come down for BLG, actually. They are going to play a very invade-focused game, so I do want to see them try and venture into the jungle just a bit more. Probably a late invade coming out from Jayce, as he does have the, both of them have trinkets in the bottom side.
Just a little bit of early vision advantage being gained, at least from BLG's side, trying to find the pathing that SofM can likely take in this matchup. But we do see both junglers starting towards the bot side. So a lot of focus, more than likely, towards the mid, towards that top lane, although some shenanigans can happen in those pathings. Clement, I'm sure that we'll see these junglers butting heads at some point early on, because that's what we typically see with this matchup.
I do want to point out the runes coming in from Angel. It's super interesting, but he is going Resolve mid laner, taking the second win here just to keep his HP alive. And like we mentioned, BLG will get a pretty good info scout on where the lanes actually start out here. It's going to be bottom side, just start for Hecarim, and I want to see if they're able to collapse onto the top side with this. Hecarim has to path toward top side, and he's going to be going up against double bio lanes from BLG pushing in.
Yeah, so maybe we'll see a little bit of... I would like to see a little bit of early engagements coming out from either of these sides, because you've gotten, especially from the side of BLG, right? You were talking about how you have all that prior, you have a lot of that early game potential, that early game skirmishing available to you if you want. And so I need Meteor to kind of take advantage of that, right? And I need him to try to set up that advantage, set up that tempo for himself. But you've always got to worry about where SofM is going to be, where he's going to be looking to help, if he's going to be looking to counter gank, or if he's just going to be looking for the advantages himself. Because I feel like whoever strikes first gets that tempo, and it's going to be hard to regain at most points.
Yeah, 100% what BLG should be getting is the Herald here. Not the Herald, the early Scuttle here. But Bin, surprisingly for me, has actually been doing very well in this lane. Usually you do not see this lane this healthy for the Gnar, and Jayce, he has the Hex Flash, but those were opportunistic Q in and doesn't get anything out of it.
Huanfeng has to burn the flash though, so you got a little bit of something.
Oh, true.
Maybe they'll be able to re-gank there. That's unfortunate for Huanfeng because you never want to be flashless against an Alistar Kaisa combo with that burst that they have. And luckily he's able to get out of that combination there, but almost was trouble.
Yep, and we are going to see BLG go for the double scuttle at this point. Really good move coming out from Meteor. That's going to give him a huge EXP lead. And again, going back onto Huanfeng.
Yeah, they got a lot of damage on him, but Jayce is getting a lot of damage on himself, and that's not where you want to be. As Meteor is looking down to the bot side, luckily both teams will back off. That BLG might advance a little bit, try to bait Suning into fighting more. It looks like both bot laners know what's going to be happening and know when to back off.
So we are going to get a pretty steady game. We see Meteor already up by 2 camps at this point. He has another pretty comfortable clear into the top side, and I feel like this is one of those games where you just constantly clear. Like, you don't even really think about trying to get anything until some of the lanes can find more advantages on their own. Meanwhile, going in.
That's really good. The double combo here. Jayce having to run away over the Flame Chomper. SofM shows up, and first blood goes to Suning. They are starting it up right here for themselves. They get the bot lane gank from SofM and setting ahead Huanfeng.
No flash onto Jayce. They go straight onto the cow, get the early kill there. And it was a little bit weird from BLG to actually fall for that, but it's just very difficult to actually get away from a ghost Hecarim. They definitely knew his pathing at that point. They saw him on the Raptors and also saw him in the red buff. They knew where he started, so they had the timers on him, but they just didn't have the push speed to actually avoid that.
So we do have on roaming up here towards the top side of the map. Meteor a bit caught out from Suning. Actually, he's going to be able to get out of there without getting a lot used against him. I thought maybe that that SofM was going to try to keep him around, get on in there, get involved, and try to lock down that Udyr, but he's not able to. Udyr's too fast, too quick. And he's going to make it back to his side of the map.
And BLG right now, I think they are in a position where they really need to defend their bottom lane. Their solo laners are fine. They will continue to accrue CS leads. But bottom lane without flash on Jayce, he's going to have a massive target on his back. They know SofM is nearly hitting that 6. In fact, he will get this after the red buff. Oh, he's actually 2 camps away from it. So after red buff and maybe Raptors, he should be able to secure that. And he's heading straight for bot lane. That is going to be the way that Suning sort of bridge their gap between their early game and their late game. Is if this Jinx can get pushing early, has Math Prio, they can swap her to bot, force Azir to play in the long side lane, which Azir is terrible at doing, and they can just coast into the late game that way.
And we're already seeing Suning moving around this dragon pit. They were trying to get some vision down there, try to get the scuttle crab down. It is Meteor looking to respond, though. He's heading down to the bot side himself. Doesn't mean that we're going to get the dragon started up just yet from either side, but we're starting to get to that point, Clement. We're starting to get the setup around this objective, as it has been on the board for about 1:40.
Yeah, and looking at the teleports here, it's a very good opportunity for Suning. I definitely feel like if they have the lane state correct, they will try to go for the bottom side. Meanwhile, BiuBiu in a bit of a trade.
Yeah, I thought Ben was going to be able to land that house, but does not. Doesn't get the extra damage down, and BiuBiu is actually going to be able to take the advantageous trade in that one.
Yeah, I thought Ben was going to try and push for the tower. Just tries to go for the extra damage. He is going to go back and get the steel plated caps that I've always tripped you up. Ninja tabby. So
there you go. Like it.
Yeah, just gonna go for the full wave clear ultimate instead. And we can see BLG right now trying to use mid lane prio to get into that bottom lane. That's definitely the most important project for Meteor right now, is to keep aiming's lane ahead, make sure they can't get any more kills off of Jayce.
That's what you're trying to do, and that's what I find very interesting, the differences, I guess, that we've seen between these two series so far today, right? We saw a lot of that chaos early, buying into the chaos from both sides in that series 1 with JDG taking it whole-handedly, but in this one, you know, taking it easy, making sure that these advantages are gained in the right fashions, in the right ways. And although I do feel like that puts BLG in a bit of a hard spot to work from, because you are looking for those early advantages, you do still have some of those scaling options. You do still have some of those pick options as you get into that mid game.
Yeah, I will say though, this Jayce is it's such a vulnerability in the late game. You can't run away from any of the engage, and if Kassadin just like touches you, you kind of die. Like it's the Jayce pick pretty much locks BLG into just going early or bust, but they also have Azir, so it's
a bit of split focus.
Yeah, it's trying to keep your eyes on two things at the same time, and it's very hard to actually maneuver. And I would say that BLG probably needs something like at least a 3,000 gold lead going into the 20-minute mark for this composition to really work out.
Or to be a chameleon. You know, chameleons can keep their eyes on two things at once. Just saying. They want to throw that one in there. I don't think that has any bearance on this, but you know, it's just it's a little something to think about when BLG is looking for something. Oh man, gets the Emperor's Divide over the wall though, as he's gonna walk away from that one. Not gonna have to burn the Summoner spell on either side. Wait. Oh no, SofM stole the Scuttle Crab. Been very low, has the Gnar available to him, but he's just Hecarims today, man. They're just driving by, they're taking everything they want.
Yeah, and that's the big breakup point. We were talking about this matchup and saying how BLG had to get an advantage by shutting SofM down. So far, SofM is completely fine. He has been able to guard his own jungle, and at this point, Zeka's actually losing the lane to Angel. We saw him chucked out very, very low, had to burn the Emperor's Divide. And that's the kind of thing about Kassadin these days, is it's actually fairly difficult to keep him fully down. It's not like in the past where you could just go for like 80 runes and say like, yeah, I'm gonna chunk you out. It's no longer a possibility for most mages. And just the null story passive is so powerful. Now Suning going for the engage, and they do have the inner track. They have to focus on the ramp for against BLG.
And SofM just says, thank you for starting up the dragon here. BLG do not want to just let it go. Jayce stepping up. That's the dragon already gone to SofM. Does he go down too? The Onslaught of Shadows gets him over the wall. Aiming has gone crazy. Aiming has gone for the kills. He goes for the killer instinct, but he cannot find what he was looking for. And again, Suning get out.
Yeah, that was so clean from them. They had Angel on the spot first, and it's actually fairly difficult for BLG to dissuade them. They have to use the Alistar sort of as this crowbar to break through the composition, but at the same time, there's a lot of zoning potential from Suning, and they just caught BLG in a really awkward position. They had them on the ramp, where Rell could just engage on them with the Magnetic Storm. So BLG were zoned completely away from that objective. They come in a little bit late. You can see Aiming is trying to get an early game advantage. That was a very desperate play with the killer instincts, or rather a risky play, and it just doesn't pay off. Now they are in an awkward spot where Jayce has to go back, and I think this lane has been very solidly a win for Huanfeng, even with losing that flash early game.
Yeah, just keeping the priority up there as well. Keeping the pop shots in is what I love to see. And you are getting a reset now from SofM. Meteor was making his way towards the top side of the map. We do still have the Rift Herald available for SofM and Suning. It's getting close. About a quarter left on the timer there. See where he's going to be able to use that one. But Ben just trying to buy some time on the top side. It does look like it could be the focus down towards mid or bot with that objective.
Yeah, I wonder if BLG should have gone for... Oh, Ben actually misses out on the ultimate. Pretty nice Thundering Blow there from BiuBiu. I was kind of wondering if BLG should have gone for an early Herald play. Because they have double Prior in their solo lanes, and if they just fold that into the Herald, they might have had a good pick. Now it might be a little bit too late.
Clement, I'm eating my words here, because SofM says he wants to go top lane. A Ben almost goes down, but the Onslaught of Shadows is going to help him secure that kill. Make sure that Ben doesn't go down, and that is the second kill for SofM's Hecarim.
That was a pretty nice assisted suicide coming in from SofM as he walks BiuBiu underneath the tower. And I think the day of the Jayce has been over. You know, he is called the man of tomorrow, but I don't think there is a tomorrow to look forward to. I'm sorry,
tomorrow
Jayce.
ain't looking so bright. It's a little bit doom and gloom. Oh, they get the re-engage though on SofM. The charge is going to go through, but have they found Angel? Angel's able to just use the Rift Walk out of there. BiuBiu misses the accelerated shock blast there onto SofM. Does get a lot of damage back onto him though. BiuBiu and BLG are just trying, they're clawing at getting something in this game, Clement, but it's not coming.
At least they did force away the gold from going on to Angel. I think that's mainly what the play was about. I didn't see them having a very good opportunities to actually get a kill there, but they prevent the Kassadin from getting too much gold. However, in the meantime, Huanfeng was actually just playing PvE. He got to free hit on the tower for like 2 waves. And this is pretty interesting from Huanfeng. We're actually seeing a Gale Force out of him. It typically has been the full damage build with the Kraken Slayer, but this time around, he's feeling confident enough to actually go for a bit more execution.
And I wonder if that, I mean, I think you have a little bit of tankiness on the side of BLG, right? You still have Jayce on the Alistar, who's a monster, and Udyr does get to that point, especially as you're building into the more defensive style builds. But I like this, right? I mean, you've got to deal with an Azir. You've got to deal with a Kaisa. You've got to deal with a Jayce. They aren't the tankiest. They do need to be repositioned on them. You have to be able to think quickly and try to find your way around and find those solutions. I think that for the Jinx, yes, it's not necessarily the Kraken Slayer, not that insane sustained damage that we typically have, but I think in the moments, in the right mechanical hands, especially in Huanfeng's hands, this is going to be huge.
The way I'm reading this Gale Force is actually it's to go forward. This is not a defensive Gale Force.
I like it. I like it. Hey, make sure you get those kills. That's all that matters.
He actually has enough frontline where even if BLG focuses him, I think BLG actually just all die. So this is more of a I need to get excited as quickly as possible Gale Force.
I like it. Hey, we'll see which side of the Gale Force we see. Is it the smiley face or is it the sad face in the defensive plays? But as you said, I would like to see him kind of use this, express himself a little bit with that Gale Force. But we do have mythic items coming across the board, especially for BLG, having gotten a lot of those completed, having a little bit of a power spike to themselves, even though they are down in gold. It's nothing to kind of walk away from, right? You're only down about 1.5k. It's not too crazy, although if you keep letting objectives go down, things get a little bit more dire as SofM does start up the second Rift Herald of the game. Looks like it's just going to be traded for their first dragon, at least for BLG's first dragon, as we do see this wonderful split screen.
Yeah, I love what the LPL production has been giving us this
so
season.
Clean.
You can even tell the timers like just side by side who actually gets the faster clear into this one. But once again, I do favor Suning's build here a little bit more. I don't think BLG ever get to, like, even if BLG get the Dragon Soul, if they are going that late into the game, it's pretty much over for them anyway. So the immediate gold for Suning is going to come out of a little bit more handy, and they are going into the 1-3-1 siege. BiuBiu has to flash away.
I just love how fast Hecarim can get with the Stu combo. It's so disgusting, man. Even though BiuBiu gets away from that one, it's like you see that coming on your screen, you have a little heart attack, Clement.
Yeah, it's 150% extra move speed coming out from the Turbo Chem Tank and devastating charge. It really hurts on that first auto attack as well, and BiuBiu cannot be left anywhere on the map alone to hold his own lane. He will just get charged down. I will say though, BLG actually have a pretty good tower trade on both sides, though these are elongated lanes. I think Suning were willing to make that trade because BLG, there's actually very little they can do with these two long lanes. You can't really push as BiuBiu right now, and you can't really push as Zeka because SofM can just show up and instantly pop you on either of these side lanes. So it's kind of a moot point. It's a bit of a gold, but BLG don't actually get any map advantage from these two side lanes going down.
And it looks like we're just getting some roaming parties out here from Suning. They sticking Huanfeng in the mid lane, sticking both ADCs in the mid lane, just to be a little bit of a farm fest, and then moving as a group, trying to find those little advantages in the jungles, trying to get that vision game up a little bit more. I feel like it's been a little cautious so far from both sides, not necessarily trying to push up that vision game as much. I think we've seen a little bit more from BLG at this point, but with a bit of a lead and still like looking to scale up into the future, right? I feel like Suning needs to batten down those hatches, get some of that vision game down, especially as we're going to be coming up with more objectives.
Yeah, you can see Suning themselves, they're actually very comfortable about just putting Huanfeng here without any vision around the mid lane.
I know, it's crazy.
It's kind of funny because they know that Jayce and Azir can't actually collapse. Like there's no engage on the two solo laners, so they're willing to kind of just let him push this blind. So you'll be fine. You'll be fine. It's totally okay.
Everything is fine. We do have the split pushing right now from Suning. They had both solo members in the side lanes while BLG was trying to make a play in the mid lane. Not going to have the siege that they wanted to. And there's the second Rift Herald spawn just in mid lane off the back of BLG's siege. And now, like they're trading places, Clement, Suning is in the mid lane with all 5 members.
And this time they don't have the poke and range for Jayce coming in. Mid lane tower about to go down. It's actually pretty well defended by BLG. If that mid lane tower went down, I feel like the map would be way too wide open. Suning could start going into the jungle at this point, and at least they're able to hold on to that for a little while longer. But the lane allocations right now are a little bit tricky for BLG. Most likely they want Azir, who has the most wave clear in the mid lane, but that also means sending Amy, who is under-leveled compared to the rest of the map, into these solo lanes against something like a Kassadin.
Yeah, it's not necessarily where you want to be. You have a couple tools to get yourself out of dodge, but it's not going to mean much when you're up against the Kassadin or even SofM's Hecarim, right? We already talked about BiuBiu getting caught out. I feel like Kaisa is a little bit more of a juicier target, a little bit of easier target as well.
Yeah, I think the story of this game so far is just BLG losing sight on where their draft wants to go and picking the Azir away from
It's the 2 eyes. They needed the chameleon. I'm just saying.
Yeah, I think they would have been much better served with red side last pick on Zeka and just go for an early game strategy that actually focuses down people and just go for, like, going for blind Jayce is fine. Like, you'll get an advantageous matchup regardless if it's a last pick Jayce or if it's 4th pick Jayce. So BLG just dropping the ball on that one, and they now have this really unwieldy composition where they didn't get much done early, and they're going into this late game where Zeka pretty much is the only saving grace here. Zeka has to be the lord and savior for BLG and their playoff hopes.
Luckily, he's an emperor in this game. He's definitely trying to bring up the slack in this one, and I do like that he's been able to develop a bit of a lead in CS. Obviously, no kills yet to BLG, which honestly is mind-blowing to think that we're over 20 minutes. There's only been 2 kills, but that's a point for a different time, Clement, as we're zooming in on how BLG can make a stand here in this one, find that advantage for themselves.
I'm just looking at what they're trying to do here. They're trying to get a big win onto this next Drake fight, and they could definitely do it if BiuBiu finds a couple more poke opportunities like that one. But they need to play this one slower. Oh no.
That's what I'm worried about though, Clement, is you engage like that, you put yourself out dangling on a wire, and Suning are gonna gobble you up. They see the engage miss from Jayce, they immediately turn it around, get the re-engagement there, take a couple kills, and now they're looking at their second dragon.
Yeah, I think that was inexperience from Jayce. You definitely don't need to go in there. You should allow Zeka and allow BiuBiu to get more poke before fully committing. He goes in, the team basically hands over the Drake, and Suning continue to snowball with the better scaling composition. We are tick-tocking down to level 16 Kassadin, and it's gonna come pretty soon.
And I just can't believe there hasn't been more action until we get to level 16 Kassadin. Like, I feel like there needs to be something going on for BLG at this point, but it's just 4-0 right now in terms of Suning's lead with 2 dragons under their belts. It is an Ocean Soul this time around again, so we'll see some resurgence maybe in the later parts of the game. But yeah, this initial miss by that Rift Walk over the wall by Angel.
Yeah, we mentioned this a lot of times. Suning definitely have the better front-to-back 5v5, and the way you want to play against them, BLG desperation play!
The big brain play! They take the Baron! Okay, now they need to get out of here, Clement, because I don't even know where we're at anymore. I feel like we're in an alternate reality where BLG just burned down the Baron out of nowhere. And maybe BiuBiu goes down here. Yeah, he's going to get flashed out. They don't want to let as many of these Baron buffs get out. They do punish 1 member, but that's still 4 Baron buffs strong on BLG.
That relieves a lot of pressure for them, and they will be able to hold their side lanes against the 1-3-1 from Suning. So what it means is that BLG, I think they get a lot of opportunities to siege right now. We are seeing the pings going down. They're going straight for the mid lane tower, and they don't have to worry about the side lanes because they can answer with these empowered minions anywhere. They're not going to be getting pushed in by Angel or by Bin, so they're going straight for the siege. I love this idea, but they are missing their main siege tool, though. They really need BiuBiu to get the damage and to make sure that they get a solid advantage here. They will pop the Sun Disc going down, but this next tower, I don't think they can actually go into that territory on the map. It's a little bit too easy for On to pop over a wall and get a good engage on them. So yeah, they don't really go forward with it. Instead, they're looking for the jungle skirmish.
So I will say in that instance, right, while we're potentially getting a fight before everything is set up, like, man, the call to go with the Kaisa double item power spike with Zeka on the Azir double item power spike to burn down the Baron, that's just a heads up play if I've ever seen one. And now BLG have put Suning a bit on the back foot, but how long is that going to be there? Because you have SofM going in, has to use Onslaught of Shadows out as a defensive tool, but you still have Huanfeng almost full health, almost gets the kill with the Mega Death Rocket. It was so close, but Zeka gets out.
23 HP onto that one, and the siege continues for BLG. They have to run away from this one, though. I feel like without Zeka and his TP and Hecarim being that much closer to the base, they have to be super careful about this engage.
Still have some Baron up minions coming down. BiuBiu is a bit caught there. Huanfeng coming on the side here. There's the re-engagement. There's the damage down. Suning are taking the fight. Yeah, they've got aiming off on the side all by his lonesome. He took the tower, but the team is done.
What?
The team is gone. Jayce and BiuBiu are down.
I don't understand why BLG would stay in that position. Hecarim going low doesn't matter. He can come back on the map. He is a fast pony. Meanwhile, Zeka doesn't have his TP. Like, he's not going to be able to arrive there on time, so they just handled over 2 kills for Suning. That's that was a really weird chase down from BLG. Definitely not what I expected them to do. They should have waited just a little bit longer.
Just walks in here. Like, he just casually walks into the fight while they're already engaged.
He's in vision too,
and
so
there's no focus.
Yeah, BLG actually decide to go in on this one without their mid laner, and Suning just punished them. Huanfeng right now getting another 2 kills is not good for the health of BLG.
It's definitely not. I do want to say, as we come back to live, Meteor has just burned his flash. So will not be available. No flash bear stuns, no bear slaps coming out of the other end of the flash. So we'll see how that works out for him. But I have to say, like, when you go into the enemy jungle like that, you're feeling confident. You're like, okay, we got the Baron buff, we're pushing, and it turns around. This is what happens. You lose that confidence. You give it over to Suning, and BiuBiu's just deleted off of Summoner's Rift, and now you've got 5 against 4. BLG on the back foot.
Oh, this Jayce pick is so useless. Doesn't get anything done early, and he's just a sitting duck when you have Hecarim and the engage coming out from Kassadin. Angel's willing to go super deep. He has that stopwatch. They get the first pick, and they're looking at a super easy Drake Ocean Soul coming up in 5 minutes. This one is the best soul if you want to go for a 1-3-1 strategy. It's so hard for BLG to actually dislodge. And if you look at their engage, they don't really have that much. It's very telegraphed. They have to have Jayce and Meteor just run at people to try to shut down these solo lanes. So Suning almost never have to group. Even when they have the better 5v5 team composition, they can choose to only group on the objectives and 1-3-1 out this entire game.
And especially when you're talking a little bit about those objectives, right? You mentioned the 4.5 minutes or so till Dragon spawns. That's soul for Suning, and that's not where BLG want to be. You talk about the tools that you can get in the siege, the amount of pressure that Suning has been able to put on without being responded to. And this is SofM just calling the play way ahead of time.
This is so funny. He comes from underneath the enemy
ridiculous.
tier 2 tower, and there's nothing BiuBiu can do. Super Mega Death Rocket plus the Void Rift coming in from Angel just takes him down immediately. I really would have preferred a tank on BLG's composition, but so far the only ones that can take the damage is probably Alistar.
Yeah, that's the big cow is going to be the only saving grace of that. Is although Big Cow's caught, he does get the double knock up there. SofM goes over the wall. You have everybody else joining. That was so nice. just displaying some of the peel back tools that Suning have. Almost a big play for BLG, almost their first kill, but no, it's not going to come just yet.
It's going to be sad to see if BLG go for an early game snowball composition and end the game with 0 kills. That will be very, very tragic. They're en route for that to happen. We're going to be checking in onto Angel once more. The tier was a relatively slow tier. I do want to mention his build. He actually went for an early Thorn Shield, just a little bit more defensive, and Hecarim going straight in.
SofM face checks into 5 members, but that is a huge Mega Gnar ulti, and it changes the fight. Huanfeng is still full health, Clement. There's nothing you can do against this monster of a man, as that's a triple kill for Angel and an absolute total wipe of BLG.
That was a perfect explanation of the draft difference. We have to remember BLG aren't even that far behind in gold, but their compositions do not favor teamfights. What happened there was Suning nearly lost 2 of their frontliners straight off the bat. Hecarim didn't even get his ultimate off. He didn't do anything. SofM just charged in and died, unfollowed, was nearly killed, and they still have another frontline in bin to get a 4-man knock against the wall, and it was just cleanup duty from then on.
Huanfeng is literally just shooting fish in a barrel at that point. He's got the Runaans, he's got the Lord Dominix, he's got the Gale Force. He is popping off. And we're going to dive into that fight a little bit more.
BLG were only 1k down with a first kill, and the team fight still went disastrously for them.
Look at that damage. Oh my god. All 3 of those health bars just getting chunked by Fishbones.
Yeah, the AoE crowd control was way too good. You also have Angel just coming in with the triple kill at this point, so that's pretty much going to be game. But hey, at least BLG got their first kill.
They got a kill! Yay! They did it! And it was on SofM, one of the Fed members. He didn't have it, you know, it feels good at least you get something back for that one.
Yeah, it's going to be a short-lived celebration, as I think Suning are finally
Hey, we celebrate all night long, Clement. That's a kill, all right.
A kill is a kill. I think we're just going to see Suning just siege down onto 1 tower at this point. They do have the Baron buff, but with this composition, it's actually very powerful in small chokeholds like that. It's very difficult to avoid the Mega Gnar ult, and that's one of the most underrated aspects of Gnar. When you're sieging tier 2s, you look at this terrain, it's almost impossible to not get stunned up on one of those walls around that tier 2 tower. So I think Suning will just play a 4-1, try to fold into one of these silence and start stripping these towers down.
I'm looking for SofM finding those cheeky ganks, those cheeky invades, those cheeky flanks here that he's had all game long, just knowing where the advantages lie, knowing where the deficits lie for BLG, and taking complete advantage of that. When you have 20 seconds or so until this dragon spawns, it will be the soul for Suning if they can secure it.
We also have the Cosmic Drive Angel coming out, so a lot of auto attacks are actually going to be available for him. BiuBiu is once again the target, no flash on him.
Okay, SofM thinks better of it that time around. BiuBiu still almost dies to the Super Mega Death Rocket, but it's not going to be there.
Yeah. This is your Jayce, you know, early game champion. Late game not really his forte. While Suning just take away casually this Ocean Soul. And we have Kassadin level 16. Here we go. This is kind of the gravy train now for Suning. I wonder what sort of an engaged BLG are looking for. They have to try and crack one of these side lanes before Suning groups.
Yeah.
At this point, I don't think they can take any sort of 5v5 with confidence, so they have to be on the front end onto this one. They have to try and find sort of the game, and it's going to come down to Jayce. Jayce has to be the one to get sort of the shutdown kill, but it's also really difficult. It's against Kassadin at this point with Zhonya's.
Yeah. You're not going to be able to get him in the side lanes. It's going to be almost impossible to do, and you see BLG a bit split, right? They were looking to try and take down the side lane. Maybe they all pull back to the mid lane. But you still got a great advantage from Suning, and they could just take this tower right from under your nose.
They also can disregard the poke at this point. They have triple Ocean Dragons, so BiuBiu is going to be doing essentially negative damage at this point. BLG cannot try to dislodge them with any sort of poke. They actually just needed to find a catch in the side lanes, and that's, even that is close to being beyond their reach.
Yeah, because you're starting to see, Suning know that, right? They're starting to just bring it all together. They want to keep Huanfeng in the back line. They've done so beautifully. They're getting the split push there by Bin occasionally, but a lot of times it's bringing that pressure back to mid, utilizing the advantages that they have where they're pulling BLG across the map and being able to get some more of those objectives. As we see now, they have that inhib in mid lane that's going to be getting the super minions down. That's going to give them that much more priority in that mid lane. It's going to force BLG to focus a lot more on mid lane, and that's where you see the transition to maybe some side lane pressure, some side lane split pushing by Suning.
I think the main adjustment here from Suning is they are sending Gnar with the rest of the team, so playing a 1-4 and just letting Kassadin be the side lane split push. Gnar is still fairly important because he doesn't have the stopwatch. He can be targeted out a bit easier, and in Mega Gnar, he's also the tanky member. He has engaged potential, so it will be a little bit safer in this setup compared to Gnar on the split push. And it looks like Suning are playing just for the Baron catch. Everfrost does go down.
Angel had TP the mid lane, maybe a call from the team. SofM getting engaged on here, but you still got to be careful with the back line. SofM is strong, but you've got to worry about Angel. You've got to worry about Huanfeng, and they haven't been able to find that just yet. And it's still, even though they were able to get some damage onto SofM, not going to be anything that BLG can pull away. They're still sitting on that 1 kill.
Oh, we are going to see opportunistic catch on trying to get Zeka, but Zeka, that was very easy for him to get out. He just uses a shifting sands, doesn't even have to flash onto that one. So a bit of an early trigger pull from Suning, and I don't feel like they need that necessarily. They could play this a little bit slower, get that top lane tower down. There's honestly no one defending it at this point. And they could let that top lane wave do a lot more work for them by just pushing that in. But it looks like Suning are getting a bit hasty on this one. They want the game to end right here, right now.
Nope, they don't want to go for that one. They want to go for the kills. The Mega Death Rock in his back. That's the Onslaught Shadows in the back. SofM bringing him back to the front too, as that's going to be a lot of damage being put down from Suning, and that's just the health bars gone from BLG, and that's just the game won by Suning as they're taking it under even more towers. As Angel's going to chase down aiming. Couple more Rifts walks will do it. The Everfrost actually going to seal the deal there, as everybody is down for BLG, and Suning have an open Nexus ahead of them after taking down a couple more of these towers. But that excited is going to come through for Huanfeng. The lead is going to come through for Suning, and they will bring us to 1-0 match point.
Oh, this is so tough for BLG. We talked about this series was really about the AD carries.